Okay, so in this section, we're looking at synthetic division. So I'd like to start off by taking a look at this example here. H of x equals x to the third plus 2x squared minus 5x minus 6. This polynomial in factored form is hx equals x plus 3 times x plus 1 times x minus 2. So what we're saying here is that x to the third plus 2x squared minus 5x minus 6 in factored form is just x plus 3, x plus 1, and x minus 2. Remember that we call each one of these factors. Right, and then also what we can do is we can solve and find each zero, right? -3, -1, and 2. These right here are the zeros. All right, so synthetic division synthetic division can be used is used to find factors or zeros of a polynomial. Right? It tells us that if x minus c gives a remainder of 0, then x minus c is a factor of the polynomial. Right? So one thing that we got to keep in mind is this x minus c. It's a really nice way to divide. Let's take a look at an example. Right? So let's say is x plus 3 a factor to f of x equals x to the fourth minus 3x to the third plus x squared plus 2x plus 15. So what we can do, keeping in mind that it says x minus c, and right now we have an x plus 3. So we have to take a look at the opposite of that. All right, so the opposite of a plus 3 is a minus 3. We're going to put that right here. We're going to look at the coefficients. This has a coefficient of a 1. This is a -3. This is a 1. This is a 2. And that's 15. I want to show it like this. This number out here will be our remainder. All right. So what we do first, let me erase this here so we don't have so many arrows going all over the place. All right. What we do first is we're going to bring this down. Then we're going to multiply that 1 by -3, right, by that number. That gives us a -3, so we put that right there. We add these two. We do some addition. -3 plus a -3 gives us a -6. And once again, we do -6. We're going to multiply by that. That gives us 18, and this 18 goes up here. We add those two. That gives us a 19. And we multiply those two. All right, we have 19 times our -3. That gives us a -57, which goes up here. Once again, we do some addition. That gives us a -55. And then we multiply again. -55 and -3. Now we multiply -55 by -3. That gives us a 165, which goes up here. We add those. And we see that we get a remainder of 180. So, since the remainder is not 0, x plus 3 is not a factor of the polynomial. All right, so very nice first example. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next example. Here we want to use synthetic division to find the quotient and the remainder. We have x to the third minus 2x squared minus 7, dividing it by x plus 2. One thing that we see here is that this is missing just x. So we want to rewrite it as x to the third minus 2x squared plus a 0x minus 7. Okay. So we do the opposite of a positive 2, which is a -2. We bring this has a coefficient of 1, right? This one is -2. That's 0, and that's -7. Okay. Whenever we're doing synthetic division, we need to make sure that every exponent is in there in decreasing order. So that's very important there. Okay, let's take a look here. Let's take this off again. So this 1 comes down. Multiply. All right, 1 times -2. Gives us -2. We add -4. Now we're going to multiply. Gives us an 8. We add an 8. Multiply. So negative 16. We add. Gives us a negative 23. This is our remainder, right? So we get a remainder of negative 23. But what is this, right? Those numbers are the coefficients, right? These are the coefficients of the quotient. So the problem started with the x to the third, so we subtract 1, right? So it started with x to the third, so we do x to the third minus 1, which gives us x squared. So then we have 1x squared minus 4x plus 8. Once again, this is called the quotient. And we saw our remainder already is negative 23. So nice example similar to your homework, right? X squared minus 4x plus an 8. Okay, next example. Let me do, I think we had one with a complex number. So this question asks us, is 3i a 0, 2? G of x equals x to the third minus 4x squared plus 9x minus 36. So GI comes out here. This has a 1, right? So we have 1, negative 4, 9, and negative 36. We bring that 1 down. 1 times 3i is a 3i. This is just negative 4 plus 3i, all right? That's all we can do because remember we add and they're unlike, so we can't go any further. So now we do this negative 4 plus 3i. We have to multiply it by 3i, right? Which means we're distributing. So what do we get? We get a negative 12i plus 9i squared. But we know that I squared is a negative 1, right? Remember, I squared, we learned this in the past. So this is negative 12i minus 9. That goes right up here. We add those, 9 plus negative 12i minus 9. Well, those cancel. All right, leaving us with just a negative 12i. Then we multiply negative 12i times a 3i, which gives us a negative 36i squared. All right, and once again, I squared is negative 1. That just gives us 36. That goes up there. We add those and we get 0. All right, so is 3i a 0? So yes, 3i is a 0 once again because the remainder is 0. So some nice examples of synthetic division. And let's see if we have another one that might be a good one. I think I see another nice one on your homework. So let's do this one. So let's use synthetic division. We have x to the third. X to the third plus 5ix squared minus 13ix minus 12 plus x plus I. Once again, we do the opposite because that's a plus I. We do a minus I. Our coefficients, well, this is a 1. This is a 5I. This is a negative 13I, and then we have a negative 12. That comes down. 1 times negative I, well, that's just a negative 1I. Add those, and we get 4I multiply 4I times negative I. It's negative 4I squared, or in other words, negative 4 times negative 1, which gives us a 4. Multiply. I'm sorry, take that back. That 4 goes right up here. All right, add negative 13I plus 4. They're unlike, so we can't do anything else. Now we multiply. Let's say I have negative 13I plus 4 times negative I. All right, we're distributing. So get negative 13I squared minus 4I. This is negative 13 times negative 1 minus 4I, or in other words, 13 minus 4I, which comes right up here. And then we add those, right, which is negative 12 plus 13 minus 4I, which gives us 1 minus 4I, but we want to write it, excuse me, let's see, we want to write it in the correct order. We could leave it like that, 1 minus 4I. Should be fine. Okay, and now from there we can go ahead and show our solution. Once again, it started with x to the third, so all we do is subtract 1. Once again, these are the coefficients. So we have 1x squared plus a 4ix minus a 13I plus 4. And our remainder is a 1 minus 4I. So some nice examples to this first objective on 8.3.